Welcome to Studio Bovine. Today we have Ian Nanjiani from West Point Research in the UK. Welcome.
Thank you.
You gave a presentation about the interpretation of tests around resistance, or to read tests around anthelmintics. What's the big challenge?
The big challenge is that we don't have a validated test that can properly tell us if these products are working on farm or not. So our work was funded by the UK government and the Veterinary Medicines Directorate to better understand how we can interpret these tests to get the most information from them. The key issue is that the current guidelines define efficacy relatively well, but the current guidelines define everything that isn't efficacious as being resistant. And certainly in our interpretation, that's just too blunt an approach to really describe what's happening on farm.
Exactly. So how can you help making a difference between lack of efficacy and resistance?
So lack of efficacy can come from a number of causes. The most common one that we've encountered is simply that farmers are dosing on what they think the animals weigh rather than actually what the animals weigh, or they're not calibrating their treatment equipment properly. And certainly the feedback we've had from the pharmaceutical companies when they've been investigating lack of efficacy on farm is that this is the main cause of lack of efficacy. But the risk that we face in the UK, today our anthelmintics seem to be working fairly well, but applying these criteria, the current guideline criteria, we're potentially identifying farms as resistant that aren't resistant. So your question was, how can we better understand these farms where lack of efficacy is apparently being defined? So we've taken two approaches, two additional steps to try and understand these. The first step we've taken is a simple one. It's just applying some robust statistical techniques to how we analyse the data, so that we can see if a farm isn't efficacious because there is a lack of efficacy of some kind, or whether simply we haven't had enough statistical precision, if you like. We haven't tested enough animals, they haven't had high enough egg counts, or maybe, and actually commonly what we find in the UK, maybe people aren't using diagnostic tests that are sufficiently sensitive to pick out what the egg counts truly are.
Exactly. And what's the challenge for a farm if it's not well defined? So if they are being classified as resistant, but it's not, so what's the challenge?
Well, the challenge there is they may move away to a different treatment strategy when they don't need to. They might start reaching to other perhaps unlicensed products to treat a problem that doesn't really exist, or they might start using additional treatment doses, perceiving they have a problem when they don't. So today in our talk we are talking specifically about testing to detect anthelmintic efficacy or lack of efficacy. The whole area of how we use anthelmintics responsibly hasn't been what we've been talking about in this research stream. But certainly we would look on farms where they may have problems at other management techniques that they might also want to bring into play, like rotational grazing, like alternating with other species. But I mentioned there was two additional steps that we were applying. One of them was the statistical methodologies, so that we can just simply construct some confidence intervals around what we're analysing. And actually we're working with a team of statisticians and a PhD student to see if we can develop an easy tool to make available online to help vets in this. But the other thing we've been doing is looking actually at the parasite species. Because one of the issues we have with cattle is that when you look down a microscope, you can count the eggs, but you don't actually know which worm these eggs have come from, because the common parasite worms in the UK are indistinguishable to the naked eye. So we've taken the step of growing these eggs up, hatching them up, and actually counting the larvae, because we can tell from how many pointy bits or wavy bits they've got what species of larva they are. And based on that, we can look at changes in the proportion of larvae in the different species that were present before treatment and after treatment, and that can help us interpret the egg count data as well. Now, it's a dying art being able to speciate these eggs, and there's very few people alive today that can do it accurately, but there are now tools that the Australians have developed that are coming into the UK, PCR-based technologies that can do that. So certainly our hope for the future, and I suppose our expectation for the future, is that we'll be able to look at the egg counts and speciation data from the PCRs run in parallel to help us better understand what's happening at farm level.
Great. Thank you very much for your insights. Thank you for watching Studio Bovine, and hope to see you again.